So hello, thank you for joining me for Sculpt All Levels, where we take a lot of the concepts of Pilates and fuse it with functional integrated movement. A lot of it is standing. As always, don't do anything that doesn't feel right for your body. And yeah, my name is Audra. Let's get started. We're actually going to get started standing with our feet about hip distance apart. And we're just going to check in, do like a little body scan, and just notice if your weight is directly on your heels, if it's all on your toes, or if it's like evenly distributed. And then just notice if your knees are bent, locked out, or just in kind of a neutral. And then check in with your hip bones, right? Are they pointing down towards the ground? Are they pointing up towards the sky? Or are they straight ahead? And then same kind of with the rib cage, right? If you think of your pelvis as a soup pot, the ribs should be the lid. It doesn't need to let steam escape either way. And then shoulders, just seeing if they're protracted, retracted, or in neutral. And then chin, whether it's back, forward, or in between. Just find like a nice, gentle, even like weight distribution. We're gonna roll down. So nod your chin, hollow out through the front of your body, and just start to roll down, letting your spine kind of move segmentally, and potentially feel a stretch in either your calves, your hamstrings, or your low back. Shift your weight back into your heels and then forward into your toes. And notice how that changes your stretch. And again, hips back, hips forward. One more, shifting the weight. And then relax. Take your hands to one side. Feel a stretch through the side body on the opposite side. See if that changes the stretch in your hamstrings and or your calves. And then other side. Just kind of see where your body is today. And we're actually going to bend our knees coming onto all fours. Now, for any reason, being on your hands doesn't feel great, you're always welcome to come on to your forearms or even fists, right? And first, we're just sinking our entire spine towards the ground. And then without coming into a Halloween cat position, press your entire spine up towards the sky. Good. And then sink it down. Good. Shoulders can come together. Beautiful, beautiful. And then up towards the sky. Nice. Couple more. And notice if you're mostly rounding through your thoracic or if your lumbar is coming with you. Two more. Last one, let those scapula protract, lift your belly button and just tuck your tailbone a little bit. Good. And then unwind your hips slightly, but keeping your thoracic relatively neutral here. And then curl your tailbone, keeping your thoracic relatively neutral. Most of us tend to overly round through our thoracic here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But if we're in a slumped, rounded thoracic position a lot, we should be able to get out of it. Last one here, curl your tailbone, tuck your toes, press your feet into the ground, hover your knees. And then you can tap your knees down. Inhale, exhale, little lift. So we're trying to find our abs and potentially a little bit of glute here. If you feel too much hip flexor, check out if you're kind of spread out. You might have to bring your knees closer underneath you. Good. Couple more. Good. Once again, you can be on your forearms or your fists if your wrists don't love this. Good. Couple more. Thinking of kind of screwing your arm bone in the socket like a light bulb. Two. Last one, hold. Slide one foot out. Bring it back underneath you. Other side. Now, you can always stay in quadruped here, right? And slide the foot back. You can also stay in your plank and come into front support. Okay, so you have a bunch of options here. Good. Nice. Lift your belly button just a little bit more. Yeah. And don't worry, if this plank isn't for you, we'll have other options soon. Two more. Last one. And knees down. Press yourself into a rest position. Now in your rest position, I want you to place your hands on the backs of your ribs and inhale into your hands. Push your hands away on your inhale. Now keep that as just gently expanding as possible. And when you exhale, exhale from the front of your body. And again, inhale into your hands. Exhale from the front of your body. One more. Now, during our next plank, see if you can allow that expansion of the back line of your body and find that connection from the front. Everybody ready for round two? Excellent. So go ahead. We're going to tuck those toes under, press into your feet just a little bit, and first just rotate your knees a little to one side. Inhale, exhale, come back to center. Other direction. If you need to, you can absolutely slide those hips from side to side, or you can bring one knee across, okay? One knee across is fine if having them both up isn't working for you. Stephanie, don't go as far. There. And then press up towards the sky a little bit more. There you go. Yeah, more exciting? Yeah, good. Karsten, keep your hips a little lower. There you go. Good, nice. Now, if you'd like more excitement, we can always accommodate that. Step one foot back, float the other knee up. Hold. And bring it back to center. And also remember, breaks are great. So rotate, you can step it back, float the other leg up. If you're like, almost, tap the knee down, right? That's okay. And then of course you can come back into your plank, bend and rotate. We just have one more each side. And back. Keep pressing into the opposite hand, knees down, and press yourself into a nice rest position. Rolling out your wrists. Nice job, everybody. How are you feeling? Good? Great. Ready for our third plank? Fantastic. So first, go ahead, just come up into this nice little kneeling position. Hands on the sides of the ribs. Breathe into the sides, pushing your hands out. Good, and then exhale, draw away from your hands. Think about your ribs just gently drawing towards your belly button. Lifting the belly button slightly, yeah, good. Now, as we do our side plank, for some reason, most of us want to lift our ribs like this, right? So find this position, keeping ribs and hips as stacked as possible, okay? Good, glad we had this talk. So we're going to come on to either hand or forearm, and we're just gonna be on our hip to start, right? So push into the floor to lift your ribs towards the sky. Yeah. Still fill your ribs with oxygen. Yeah. Now, if you want, using your glute, push down into the floor to lift your hips. Good. Still pushing the floor away from your shoulder. Yeah. Now, if this is what's working for you, great. Otherwise, you can extend your top leg. If that's what's working for you, fantastic. Otherwise, you can always extend your bottom leg as well. If you'd like a little bit of lift, reach your fingertips towards the sky and imagine them being pulled towards the sky. Yeah, nice job. We're just gonna hold for a couple seconds. And then we get to do the other side. So you all look so good. Fantastic. Guess what? Once we find this, when we hold it, we're gonna move through it. So I want you to really try to find this each time. So push, lift, expand into that rib cage. And if this is where you are, fantastic. Otherwise, lift. Precious, if you bring your heels towards your buns just a little bit, Yeah, it'll give you a wider base of support. Yeah, there you go. And if you want, you can extend that top leg. If you want, you can extend the bottom. And if you like, fingertips towards the sky. Good. Yes. Awesome job. Couple more breaths. And then, whichever version you're doing, we're going to rotate it to the floor. So just a regular plank. So I'm on my forearms and feet, but you could be on your forearms and knees. You could even be on your hands and knees, okay? I'll show a couple different versions. Rotate to one side, whichever variation you're doing, and then rotate down, whichever variation you're doing, and then the other side, right? You could also be on one knee and then your feet, right? Yeah. Keeping the arch out of your back, yeah. Good. Slow and steady wins the race. And if that also means you need a second, yeah. Good. Hey, Karsten, if you don't stack your feet and you just keep them wide, bring it, switch them. Yeah, then you can just rotate back down. Yeah, there you go. Good. Yeah, so if your feet are just in your plank position and then they rotate, yeah, good. Last one. Each side. Knees down. And feel free to press yourself into a nice rest position. Good. Take your hands up and over to one side, pushing your hips away, and then other side. We are about to come to standing, so any way you need to do that is fine. If you're able to come through a plank and a downward dog, great. If that doesn't work for you for any reason, don't do it. You can soften your knees and roll all the way up. Nice job. All right, so first, bring your feet together and squeeze your inner thighs together as if you're trying to pop a balloon. And then think about externally rotating a little through your thigh bone so your glutes kick on. Great. And we lift one foot. Yeah, and just hold for a second. See where you are. First line of defense, of course, is putting your foot down. Yeah, amazing. Now, if you're at home and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't quite do this, touch something, it's fine. Good. Now, all we're gonna do is move our torso a little bit. So think about your plank position, yes? Hinge forward half an inch. Hinge back up half an inch. Yeah, and again. Keeping your knees soft. Yeah, so if we lock out through our knee, it does a couple things. One, it takes us into a different position of that knee to hip position. And two, it causes our hamstring and low back to have to do more work. So if you bend your knee ever so slightly, hip hinge, so we're rotating our hip bones around our thigh bone and then back, that should theoretically help the glutes do more work, yeah? Good. By the way, if you guys hear me clearing my throat a lot, I decided for some unknown reason to have a chai before class, and I feel like all of the spices just are lingering, so. Good. Well, you get to drink some water if you want to. Good. And then other side. Oh no, it's contagious. All right, so now squeeze your inner thighs, find those glutes. We're just gonna hang out and hold for a second. Yeah, and just feel the difference from side to side, right? Good. Beautiful. Now, if for some reason, and we can hip hinge, yeah, so think about the hip bones rotating forward a little and rotating back, just a little. And keep your plank position, right? So if we arch, our back is doing more of the work. Did you switch legs? Okay, good. I was like, wait, are you sure? Okay. Okay. For some reason, I was like, I remember your right knee. Ah, good. Good. Yeah, good. Now, if for some reason, when you come up and down, you're like, man, one of my glutes doesn't fire as much, check your hip bones. If the opposite hip bone is kind of rotated back, that causes your innominates to rotate as well. So the side pieces of your pelvis, right? They rotate forward and back. So one more. I'm gonna start to notice how this side feels in comparison to the other side. Good. Nice job, everybody. Go ahead and squeeze those inner thighs together. Sink it down into like a little athletic stance, so it's not quite a squat. And then send your tail feathers back just a little bit, closing your ribs if your back likes to arch. And slide one foot out behind you. Good. Beautiful. And bring it back in. And slide it out. Now, if your balance is like, oh, that's tricky, you can hold on to something. If you're on a squishy mat, you can always come off of it. Good. Same leg, yes, good question. Good. So with this being the same leg, that standing leg should start to fatigue a little, yeah? Good. And I want you to look down, making sure that your knee is over your second and third toe. Second or third toe. Yeah. Good. How's that glute starting to feel, everybody? Starting to warm up? Talk a little bit? Fantastic. We're doing a couple. Did you just shrug? Did you just go, nah? Oh. I'm like, well, I have tricks to help get that glute more. Okay. Cool. Need two more here. Good. Last one, we just get to hold. And just think about that back glute, just squeeze, hold. And then it can tap down. And then it can squeeze and tap. Think about the muscles themselves lifting the leg, right? So it's like a marionette string. Good. And just a few more. If you need a break, of course, take one. That standing leg is probably talking a lot, yeah? 3 more. And 2. Last one, all the way up. Other side. Yeah, and so sometimes squeeze, sink it down. Just gonna hold and then slide. Sometimes we do a ton of exercises on one side and then go to the other. Sometimes we do 1 or 2. Today we're just gonna do 1 or 2 at a time and then switch so we don't get so fatigued. Good. And reach. Nice. Hopefully you're feeling that muscle recruitment on this, like in the same place, in the same amounts, right? If you're not feeling it in the same place, what that does is it gives you information, right? So for example, on this side, my glute is a little sleepy. So my hamstrings love to try to help, right? So I start feeling my hamstring if my glute isn't doing the job, right? Good. Give me just a few more here. You all look fantastic. Good. 4, 3, 2 more. Last one, hold it back. And then just squeeze that cheek. Tap it down. Squeeze, tap. And lift. A few more. Trying to keep that weight evenly distributed in the foot. Glute and quad helping. 4, 3, 2 more sets of 2. One more set of 2, yeah. I hear you chuckling, Karsten. You know I'm being sneaky. Last one, bring it up. Nice job. All right, we're gonna come back into our athletic stance. Switch legs. Tap this one just barely out now. Now we're hip hinging a little bit more. We're gonna add some rotation. We're gonna be a little bit more deliberate about it. So this stabilizing knee is still bent, okay? And then hip hinge, forward. Now as you do this, tail feathers slide back a little bit. Only go to about 90 degrees. If you go farther, that could start rounding your back. Now push into the floor. Hopefully you feel a little bit more muscle recruitment up your chain. Hip hinge up. Come into hip extension before knee extension, okay? So that knee is gonna stay bent. And even though we are accessing our glute to find hip extension, we don't have to like tuck to get there, right? Good. Keeping an angle of that knee. Bend your knee. There you go. Good. Yeah. So if you bend your knee more, you're standing leg. Yep, yeah. So your stable leg, yeah. Now, let's talk about that. If you guys are like, man, my back. It is easier to hold something here than it is here, yeah? So when we bend, don't just bend forward, right? Think about your sits bones sliding back behind you, yes. And then push into the floor to lift. Much better, yeah. Do you feel the difference there? Good, yeah, good. Now, if you're like, that's cool, I would like to add on, we have so many options. Option 1 is you lift the foot. On this side, I'm like, easy. The other side, less so. Option 2 is rotating slightly. So opposite hand is just going to point to the outside of that stable foot. Yeah, good. And you can do this with the toe down or elevated, okay? But we're still trying to find that glute activation. Good. And you might notice that there are a couple that are wobbly and then you can find your balance, right? That's fantastic. That's your nervous system figuring out what to do to keep you balanced, right? Good, couple more. 4, 3, nice. Good. Feeling your foot responding, feeling your glute responding, feeling that inner thigh responding. Last one. And then come all the way up. When we straighten this leg, instead of sending the knee behind you, we are lifting the kneecap up the leg to squeeze your quad as well as that glute. Yeah, good. And we brush out to the side and back. Yeah. Same leg as standing, yeah. Good. Now, everybody, touch where you feel the work on this side. Yes, you will. 100% yes. But I just want to make sure that you guys aren't feeling like the front corner more than the back corner, right? That means your TFL is trying to do more work than your glute, which means there are a couple tricks you can find. One is just bringing your leg back in space and not going as far, right? Good. So we have some muscular subsystems in our body that work together, right? They're synergies. And one of them is your lateral subsystem, and it is your glute, medius, TFL, adductors, and QL on the opposite side. And the TFL is like that, like overly eager intern who's like, please let me do it. Filing, yes, I can do that. Oh, you want me to go get you coffee? I'll do that too. Like everything that you could ask of it, it's gonna try to do, even if it's really bad at its job, right? So we're trying to find that glute to do its job so the TFL can, yeah. Last one. Hey, guess what? Other side. Nobody's as excited as I am. But if we do the same side, we'll just walk in circles. So other side, sink it down. Find that nice glute connection. We're just gonna tap that toe. Yeah, and so we've got this knee bent and we're just hip hinging, right? Sending the sits bones back, loading that glute eccentrically, pushing into the ground, and then using our glute to bring us into hip extension before knee extension. Yeah. Widening through those sits bones. If you're like, man, I don't know what my sits bones are. They're like the bottom bones of your pelvis. Like if you ride your bike for the very first time in years and you walk like an angry cowboy the next day, those bones are why, right? Because they just had so much weight like directly on them. If you think of them like headlights, right? They're gonna point straight behind you. Good. Yeah. Nice. A few more here. And once you consistently get that nice activation, then you can lift that foot if you want. If you don't want, that's fine too. Okay. And then if you want, you can rotate. You can rotate with that foot down. You can rotate with that foot up. Notice also how when you rotate here, it can be a little tricky to keep your knee in alignment. It can be kind of tricky not to like lean your whole body, but that's part of the excitement, right? Yeah, fantastic. That just means that now your nervous system's gonna know, yeah. And you can either reach towards the ground or you can just imagine you've got lasers on your fingers. You're just gonna shine your laser pointers. Good. You can tell I have cats with laser pointer cues. Good. Few more. Good. Trying to keep that knee in alignment with that second or third toe. Right. 2 more. How's everybody doing? Good? Good. And then we get to come all the way up, lifting your kneecap up your leg, pushing into the ground to find that hip extension. And then we brush the knee out to the side. Good. And just notice where you start to feel the work, right? If your leg is here, you might feel it more in that TFL. If you guys are like, well, how do I know? Well, there is, like, if you go into a position that gets the TFL in all of its jobs, it'll cramp real fast. And it's a hip flexor, internal rotator, and abductor. So if you go into all 3 of those at once, it kind of loses its mind. Yeah. Nice. Give me just a few more. Precious, if you soften your stabilizing knee just a little bit, it might help you find a little bit more balance. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good. 3, 2. Last 1. Nice job, everybody. All right, we're switching legs. So we're gonna come into this nice little, I see that look. We're gonna extend your back leg, hold. Now, think of, sorry, it was switch legs, yeah. So, when you extend, if you extend so far back that when you bend that bottom knee, you're like having trouble staying upright, bring it in, okay? So we're thinking about all of the weight being on this front leg, ignore the back leg. Maybe. All right. Think about dragging yourself down. Maybe you tap your knee, maybe you don't. Bring yourself up. Yeah. Drag yourself down from this front hamstring, resisting from the glute, and then back up. Yeah. Now, if you ignore the back leg, doesn't exist, right? Your shoulders might end up over this knee. That is okay. Okay, I want that heel to stay down. Allowing your knee to move because you're coming into ankle dorsiflexion, knee flexion, hip flexion, but it's still an elevator, right? A lot of times we try to escalator, we want an elevator. Good. Only go down as far as works for you. Yeah. 4. Doing great. 3. Good. 2 more. Now we get to hold it down. So since we're holding it, you know that maybe you don't go down as far. Maybe you do. And then we hip hinge. So slide our sits bones back. Oh, hello, glute. And then just come into that little like single or split lunge. And then back and then down. Good. A few more here. 5. Still breathing into your back here. So our intrinsic core stabilizers are doing their job the whole time without having to like think about it, right? 2 more. Now you can stick with this. This is great. Or you can add on. Adding on is finding a T position and then slowly lower. Good. But exactly the same thing you just did, only you lift that back foot. Okay. We're only doing a few. 4. 3. Good. A little balance challenge. Oh. I don't know what that sound was. That was my, I guess I'm gonna fall straight on my face sound, but all right, other side. All right, so bending forward, slide that foot out. Yeah. Elevator down, and then bring it back up. And just kind of see where you are, allowing the ankle, knee, and hip to all move, but without sliding forward on that sagittal plane. Good. Nice. Sinking everything down. I'm really impressed with the stability of all of you, because I'm not on the mat and I'm wearing shoes and I'm like about to fall over. Couple more. 2. Guess what? We get to hang out after this last one. Hold, and then widen through your sits bones, hip hinge, hold for a second, and bring it back. And again, slide your tail feathers back, and back. A few more. Good. Allowing your whole torso to move, and then down. And again. 2 more. Unless this is where you want to stay. Right? If this is where you want to stay, stick with it. Otherwise, hold. And then down. And then hold. I love finding out that one side is more exciting than the other because it gives us like, it gives us information, right? When I was a little kid, I wanted to be either like Sherlock Holmes or MacGyver. And in this job, I get to be a little bit like both. 2. Last 1, and just hold. Bring it all the way up. Grab your weights, you guys. So, first, just give me a little bicep curl and slowly lower. So we're working the eccentric here. Yeah. I want to know how long you'll keep the 25s. Yeah. 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 Now, if you're ready for a little bit of balance excitement, you have the option to lift a foot. It's just an option. And then we're going 4 counts down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. And then 4, 3, 2, yeah. And up. So the eccentric is important because it sounds like just nonsense, but with our muscle action spectrum, the muscles actually exert more force eccentrically. So you get stronger faster. 2 more, 2 more. Yeah, and then bring your feet down, bring the weights to your shoulders. Now, shoulders relaxed. I don't want to say shoulders down, but everybody bring your shoulders to your ears and then just relax them. Okay, now press up and then slowly come down. Yeah. And if your ribs popped or your head came forward, that's an indicator that your core has something that doesn't want to necessarily stabilize, right? Maybe your lats are tight or your hip flexors, right? So just try to keep your ribs like that soup pot lid, right? Good. Beautiful. Yeah, you all look great. 4. Good. 3. 2 more. Get your power from your shoulders, not your back. Last one. Better, thank you. And arms down, back to the biceps. Yay, biceps. Yeah. And then 4 counts down. Anybody else just like, I'm sweating. Holding the weights is hard. Yeah. I'm regretting the 10s because they're slippery. And if you want, you can lift a foot, opposite foot. Yeah. So I know it sounded like I was yelling that at you. I just was yelling that at myself. Good. Good. Nice. And just see if this feels the same on this side as it did on the other side. Good. 4 more actual ones, not sets of 2. 3 more. Good. 2. Yeah. Last one. Good. Now, relax your shoulders. And if you tend to have trouble finding your scapula placement, you're welcome to set your weights down for a second, because we're going to place our hands on our shoulders. You're also welcome just to hang on to yeah. And first, we're just going to let our shoulders roll forward a little, and then we're going to roll them back. So less of a roll like a traditional circle, more of a tip. So we're tipping them forward and then letting them tip the opposite way. Good. Tip forward, tip the opposite way. Yeah, good. Tip forward, tip the opposite way. Less retraction and more elbows forward, like an external rotation rather than a pull. Yeah. So think of your elbows instead. Elbows back, elbows forward. There you go, boom. Do you feel where your shoulder blades kind of just go boop and backwards tilt? Yes, exactly that, yeah. Good. Last one. Good, yeah. Now we're just holding the tip. Hold it, yeah. Shoulders melted, just, yes. And then squeeze the back of your arm. Yeah, keeping your collarbones wide. Good, so this is the position we're going to go for tricep extensions. We're not going here, we're going here, okay? Great, glad we had this talk. Yeah, exactly. You can move for, good, yeah. And then elbows back a little, posterior tilt, just straighten your arms, squeeze, hold. Yeah, good. Nice. And then you can bend your elbows a little bit, squeeze, hold. Yeah, good. Relax your shoulders a tiny bit. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Good. It's more exciting, isn't it? Try not to squeeze too much. Keep your ribs a little bit down. Think about squeezing your elbow. Yeah. Good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Good. So one reason we're trying to keep the collarbones wide and keep the posterior tilt of our scapula is a lot of times, and you guys keep going, I'm gonna set my weights down. A lot of times with tricep extensions, we bypass that like exciting part of our arm, and we just go into too much of this like anterior translation and internal rotation, right? It gets our pec minor really active, pulls on our like levator scapula and upper traps. Good. Is this your favorite song? He actually called me beforehand to tell me to put it on the playlist. Good. Two more. Good. Last one, hold. And just squeeze. And squeeze. 5. Yeah. 4, 3, 2, and relax. We're coming all the way down. So however you need to is fine. I have a song that haunts me, by the way, too. All right, so before we do our press, I want you to find flat shoulder blades, right? It doesn't have to be arm bones all the way down, just as long as your shoulder blades are kind of flat. Now, let the elbows come back, but not so far that that shoulder tips anteriorly. So if you've got tight muscles or a tight capsule in your shoulder, you might not go down all the way. And then exhale, press up, thinking more of your pinky fingers than your thumbs. And then lead slightly with that pinky finger, tiny external rotation through your arm bone, trying to find your serratus. And then widen, and then press again. Good. Now, if just working the positioning is where you are, that's fine. Sometimes that's really great because it can tell your nervous system what you're going to be doing. Otherwise, you can add some weight here. If, as you add weight, your form starts faltering, get rid of the weight, okay? Still think of reaching, bless you, with your pinky fingers and then widen through your scapula. Good. And here, if we are breathing properly, right? Big inhale into our back and sides, exhale. Our core is theoretically, naturally engaging, right? So our diaphragm lowers, our transverse abdominis and obliques expand. As we exhale, the transverse abdominis contracts. Couple more here. And 2. Last one, bring your hands together and just slowly come into a little tricep and then squeeze those arms. Now, I get really excited about triceps, you guys, because they're so weird. All right, so all 3 heads of your tricep connect to your ulna, which is your unmoving, or the arm bone that doesn't rotate very much, but then all 3 heads attach to different parts of your shoulder. So shoulder placement affects where you feel the triceps. Good. We have 3 more. And 2. Last 1. And you can set those weights down. Go ahead, interlace your hands behind your head, spiraling your elbows forward, right? So they're in our peripheral vision. We want to be able to actually get that serratus. Doing okay? Good. Yeah. And let your head just relax into your hands. Now we're going to do a little experiment just for fun. This first time coming into your little crunch position or chest lift, just shorten the distance between your ribs and your hips. And just notice if you kind of started getting this little doming of your abs, right? That just tells us that your rectus abdominis did a little extra work than your transverse abdominis. So let's try it again, but instead of shortening, we're going to think of kind of coming up and over a beach ball. See if that changed the way your muscles engaged. And now on this next one, think of sinking your belly button down or hugging everything in first. Good. And then do what feels good for you, right? So if thinking of the beach ball works for you, great. If for any reason that brings excessive tension into your neck, think of sinking things down first. Just a couple more. 3. Collarbone spiral forward. 2. Last 1. Hold. Bring your hands forward. Imagine pushing them into a wall. And maybe you lift a little higher, maybe not. Maybe it just engages your abs more. Hands back behind your head. Push one foot into the floor. You can float the other leg to tabletop. Now, if you overgrip through your quad and hip flexor, take one hand, place it behind your thigh, gently press your thigh into your hand to get that hamstring to activate a little, and then press that foot down into the floor, other leg. And then once again, you can always use your own appendages for support, right? And the foot we're pushing into the floor, if you actually push toe ball heel, you can get a little bit more hamstring connection, yeah? If at any point you need to put your head down, put your head down. And just start to notice, if you start feeling neck tension, where your gaze is, right? So if your gaze is up at the sky, you could be just kind of putting more pressure on your neck because gravity is working against you, right? So in that case, I would say put your head down for a second, and then feel free to come up if you need to. Yeah. Good. 2 more. Last 1. Feel free to bring one leg at a time up. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Yeah. Now slowly let your knees tip away from your face. Inhale. Exhale. Slowly drag them up. You don't actually have to touch the floor here, right? Just hold there and bring them back. Yeah. You can always put your head down, right? Now, if you put your head down, the bad news is you might not feel it as much, right? Because that rectus isn't involved. The good news is it actually puts more force or more work on your intrinsic core stabilizers, right? So even though it might not be as like, I feel this, it's still working, right? Especially if you're controlling the shape of your spine. Yeah. Now, 2 more. Unless you need a break, in which case take one, you guys. It's all fine. Yeah. Bring one foot down Other foot can stay at tabletop. The same side hand as leg is going to come to the ground. Head comes down to start. Come into your chest lift, slide your fingertips away from you, and then keeping your hand right where it is, rotate to look at your hand. And then come back to center. And you can lower. Now, you can hold, reach that leg away from you, reach it back, and just maintain this. Reach, yeah. Now if you'd like more challenge, other leg lifts, and you can switch your legs midair, yeah. Pushing the feet away, yeah, keeping your hips as stable as possible. Beautiful, you guys, yeah. Hopefully your obliques are talking just a little bit. 3, 2. Last one. We get to do the other side. So one foot on the ground, switch hands. Come into your lift. Sliding your fingertips away. Yeah, then keep them there as you rotate. Yeah. And then back to center, you can lower down. Now you can always stick with this if that works better for you, or you can push that foot away and then float it in. And then you can push away. And if that works for you, great. If you'd like more challenge, you switch legs, right? Hopefully, if you're switching your legs midair, you can kind of feel the different ways that those obliques have to kick on, right? They kind of kick on one way when one leg is extended, and a different way when the other leg is extended. 3, and 2. Last one. Bring both feet down, head comes down. Now in this position, we're just rocking our hips. We're going to come into an anterior tilt, neutral, imprint, right? So lower back on the ground, tailbone tucked, and then neutral, which is maybe a small lift in your low back, pubic bone and hip bones on one plane, and then a small anterior tilt if it feels okay in your back. Now, find neutral, extend one leg at a time. Try not to go into your anterior tilt, but we are going to imprint. So slide your hip bones towards your face, let your lower back spread wide, and then neutral again. If that is really hard, it could potentially mean that maybe your hip flexors are slightly tight. You can bend your knees a couple inches and see if that is much easier. If that is, you might keep them bent. Otherwise, fingertips to the sky, arm bones relax down, let your fingertips come overhead, and we come into our chest lift. Inhale, exhale, curl and roll. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and everybody, first one doesn't count, right? Never counts. And then reach your fingertips forward as if you're being pulled, and then ribs back. Good, nodding your chin slightly. Roll your hip bones off your thigh bones, and you three behind me, I can still see you in case you're wondering. Yeah, good, good, good. And then arms overhead. And then inhale, rolling forward like a ball. Yeah, yeah. So smooth, you guys, everybody looked so good. Now, if for any reason, whether it's hip flexor tightness, low back tightness, or just uncertainty, you have options. You can always put something underneath your low back, like a gardening pad, to give you something to sink into. If that still doesn't quite do it for you, you can always use one of your legs to help you up. That was so smooth. Yeah. Good. Whatever will help you find an easy, controlled movement that doesn't cause a lot of like tension or that need to like fling into it, right? Now, If this feels good, stick with this. If you're like, I would like more work, please, we can always bring it into a teaser instead of a roll up. So squeeze those inner thighs together. Think about, you're still rolling up, but push your feet away from you as you curl. Yeah, it's a lot. You can try it with bent knees. Yeah, and I think you've got it. Yeah. Yeah. So think less about lifting the feet, more about rolling up. Yeah. Good. And you can always bend the knees. Yeah, exactly like that. Good. Yeah. Good. Nice job, everybody. And if you're like, well, I just feel my back trying to help, instead, slide your feet in. Yeah. And then slide your feet away. Yeah. And then you can start to slide the feet in as the knees lift, right? Good. 2 more. Last one. Good. Now, core was requested, so we have one more fun core exercise. You guys excited? Great. Glad you're coming with me. So bring one leg at a time to tabletop. Hands behind your head. Come into your chest lift. Push 1 foot away, rotate. Good. Now switch. Think about reaching that foot away. Yeah. And you can always tap a toe instead. You can always put your head down in between. You can always take a break. Now, if you are excited, we're going to hold our upper body there. Just move your lower body. Just move your lower body. Just move your lower body. Yeah. 2 more like this. Now hold this. Just move your upper body. And just move your upper body. Yeah. So just rotate with your chest. Good. Yeah. You can always just put a foot down if you want. No problem. 2 more. You can also shavasana if you want. No problem. Last one. Switch everything. Hold. Just move your lower body. Upper body stays stationary. And just move the legs. And just push the legs away. Good. Or you can march, right? No problem. 2 more like this. And then keep your legs still. Just move your torso. You're like from the ribs up. And just move from the ribs up. Almost there. And breaks are great, right? 3 more. 2. Last set. And then hug your knees towards your chest and gently rock from side to side. Good. Hands behind your thighs. Press your thighs into your hands and roll up. Now, we're going to try to come to standing without using our hands, if you have it in you. If you don't, that's okay too. So it's just, an important skill not to lose. So if you're like, I got this, no problem, try taking your hands completely out of the equation. Yeah. If you're uncertain, this is fine, okay? And just see if you can come to standing. Yeah. Yeah. Good. And then see if you can just come down. Yeah. And this is the hard part for me. Yeah. And then we do the other side. So whichever side you use the first time, see if you can use the opposite. Yeah. Do your best. Do your best there, friend. Yeah. 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 It's exciting. Yeah. 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 Have your hands out. Yeah. Yeah. Just use your hands in the parts you need to. Yeah. There you go. Boom. Easy. Nice job, you guys. We're going to take our thumbs, point them back, open your collarbones. Good. And then slide your shoulders to your ears and just relax them. Nice. 1 more. Nice job, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And then if we could just spray off whatever we touched, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.